All right, guys, welcome back to another recording of the Pencil Leadership Podcast, personal and professional development show. I'm Chris Anderson, your host. We got an exciting guest today who's going to really leave some good nuggets for you. So get your pencils out, get ready to go, because we have David Schloss on the show. He's been an entrepreneur since 2007, starting in his college apartment, and he's run the gamut. He's helped hundreds of businesses just improve their overall website, business in general. His business now, Convert ROI, actually enables businesses to succeed by taking complicated social ad plans and turning them into an easy to follow revenue producing campaign. So he manages over 2.5 million per month in paid advertising via Facebook and Instagram. And he's actually been rated one of the top experts to watch by Forbes Magazine, and has been featured on entrepreneur.com, Business Insider, the Huffington Post, and he's also been interviewed on various podcasts, web shows around the topic of social advertising. And we're super excited to have David on the show today to talk about the 3 Ps of business longevity. So David, thank you for being on Pencil Leadership.
Thank you. I really appreciate being on.
Yeah, no problem, man. So before we kind of dive into those 3 Ps of business longevity, I would love to hear kind of a little bit about your story, whatever you feel open to share about, just to see how you've gotten to where you are today.
Yeah, not a problem. So 2007, I was 18 years old at the University of Florida. I basically was a freshman first semester. I'm like, okay, I'm out on my own. Got to figure something out. I'm partying way too much, and I need something to pay the bills here, or the habit of partying way too much. So of course, I went down the rabbit hole of going onto Google and typing in how to make money online, which led to an entire night of just Google searching. And at the time, I obviously should have been studying for tests and all the other stuff that was coming up. Nope. I was just studying how to make money online. And everything that I would look at was, paid blogging. And this is all at the time, so keep that in mind. Yahoo PPC, AOL PPC, Bing wasn't around yet. It was MSN, Google search ads. AdWords wasn't even close to what it is today, right? So YouTube ads didn't exist yet. It was basically just the main search networks, paid blogging or blogging in general, paid writing for major publications, or social ads. And at the time, social ads were so new because really the only networks that had social ads were MySpace and Facebook. Twitter came along, LinkedIn came along, YouTube came along, but those were a year, maybe 2 or 3 years afterwards. So even up to about 2010, 2011, there were maybe 4 or 5 actual social networks with ads built in. So when I jumped in, Facebook's public forum for running ads just opened. And I was 18. So I was like, wow, this is great. I'm already on Facebook. Everyone on here is college students for the most part, or, grad students. So basically the age range would go up to maybe, high 20s, early 30s. And so it was exactly what you would see on the ad platform, 18 to 34. You know what I mean? It's like, that's the age range of everyone on this platform right now. And all the ads were right-hand column, little banner ads, small banner ads, right-hand column. There was no feed. Instagram didn't exist. None of that stuff. So if you were running ads on there, you could spend $5 and get tens of thousands of impressions, because Ad Manager didn't really exist in the way it does now. Business Manager didn't exist. All the different placement options didn't exist. So you basically were just blasting the whole network, and the only options you had to choose from were location, gender, and age, and maybe some language, right? And that was it. Yeah. You just put it out there and hope for the best. Now, the great part about that is there were no rules. I could have grabbed a link from ClickBank, threw it up there, $5, see what happens. And quite a bit of people made some money. But it wasn't hyper-targeted to the point where I could say, are you a gym in Miami, Florida? Let's go ahead and promote this thing, right? It wasn't there yet. And so I still went along my normal track, from 18 to 22. I went through my process of getting my degree. I didn't get it in the place where I started, like most people. And it took me in a different direction, because I went from wanting to be in finance, an investment banker, to learning marketing on my own for 4 straight years. Never took a marketing course. I learned everything on my own, all the advertising on my own. And I ended up going into the tourism and hospitality space, because I figure that space will figure out how to use social ads to their advantage. Because what industry do people talk about all the time when it comes to what hotel should I stay at? What at the Airbnb didn't exist, but where should I stay?
Right. Yeah.
Right. Those types of things. And it's all about communication and conversation. Social ads is what? Communication, conversation. So I was already connecting the dots before it became a thing. And so by the time I graduated in 2011, I already had 4 years of running ads on Facebook because I was running ads for local businesses. Once they start opening up more localized stuff, I was running ads for lawyers, bike shops, realtors, you name it. Of course, it still was a wild west because it was still difficult, but I still did it anyway, while still also doing SEO, web design, web dev. I had to make money somehow. So I was doing any possible service I could or outsourcing it to some other agency and making a margin because I really wanted to figure out advertising because all the people I knew who were making money with ads were spending, they were putting in 1,000 and making 4, putting in 1,000, making 10. I'm like, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to figure it out one way or another. I just got to be patient.
Right.
And so by the time I graduated, they started to unleash the cool stuff that we all know now, but in its infancy, right? Ad manager was power editor at the time. They had far more features of targeting. Interests opened up. Behaviors opened up. Business manager didn't exist yet. They were still just figuring things out. Then all of a sudden, what is Shopify? What is Teespring? What's T-Launch? What are all these Teespring-like marketplaces popping up? And what are these e-commerce platforms that people are now advertising on Facebook? You have Magento and Shopify and WooCommerce and all these platforms. So I'm like, okay, there's more money's coming into the network. So that means a lot of things are going to happen now with people selling online. And lo and behold, from around 2010, 2011, I did have people asking me, hey, can you run some ads to webinars with Facebook? I was like, probably could figure it out. And I did figure it out, but there weren't enough people asking for that yet. My breakthrough moment was in 2013 when I had month over month over month of people going, can you run ads for me on Facebook? Can you run ads for me for webinars? Can you run ads for me to generate phone calls? Which, if you think about it now, is what people ask for all the time. I was being asked of that 7 to 8 years ago.
Wow.
When no one really knew how to do it. And I was like, yeah, I could figure it out. I had no clue. I was figuring it out as I go. But people were willing to pay a lot of money for someone to figure it out. And that was my breakthrough moment. I'm like, okay, I'm going to figure this out. This is all I do. It's all I want to do. And even though at the time I needed a part-time job just to put food on the table, all it took was 1 or 2 people that believed in me to figure this out. And I didn't have to have that job anymore. So, 18 months of having that job, I figured out a system. Next thing you know, I quit that job and I'm running ads full time. So yeah, you could say I've done this for, 14 years full time. In reality, I didn't go 100% in until around 2013 when I was able to fully disconnect from everybody that, needed me to do other things. And I was like, nope, I'm only going to do Facebook ads. And then Instagram came along and then they bought WhatsApp and all these other things. So you have to think I went 6 to 7 years of figuring it out. And then Facebook became Facebook. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then that's when the business really started to take off.
Wow, that's awesome. And I love that. Like, just seeing it progress, I'm sure was just crazy to just see everything happen, rolling out, all the changes. I can't imagine now.
Yeah.
Like, looking back on that.
I mean, now people complain about policy changes. I'm like, what policies? Back then they didn't have policies.
Yeah.
When they added policies, that's when we all start freaking out. What is this? What do you mean I can't say money in an ad anymore?
Oh, right.
What do you mean I can't say that this program can help you build your business in the next 30 days? Like, all the things that you learn in direct response copywriting was thrown out the window, which then meant that copywriters had to relearn how to write for ad networks that were, social ad networks. And then, of course, as Facebook became more popular, then Twitter ads and then YouTube ads and LinkedIn ads and Pinterest ads and all these things that came along the way, it became more of a cutthroat industry. All the ad platforms were, trying to pry you away from whatever you were running. And then, of course, you also learn about being omnipresent and being everywhere. So naturally, as you are evolving, like I am with Facebook and Instagram, you start dabbling with all these other networks. But I always came back to Facebook and Instagram, not just because I was there the longest. It was also because I just saw how people were interacting on the platform. If you take away all the political stuff in the last year, what you really see are people just communicating at a high level. They're talking all the time. You're in Messenger, you're in WhatsApp, you're in Oculus. You're just doing things around people, 2 billion people, just constantly communicating.
Right.
And all you're doing is throwing ads at them that interject in their conversation in hopes that it adds value. That's what you're doing.
Yep.
You talk about some product and I happen to be selling it. I'm going to throw it at you in the middle of your conversation and you're going to impulse buy it. That's the whole purpose of the network. So they make billions of dollars off people like me trying to interject in your conversations.
That's a good point. And you mentioned just a little bit ago about the direct response ads and having to kind of change the wording on that.
Mm-hmm.
So do they still use direct response kind of advertisement, or is it switched, or is it just the wording?
It's really just the verbiage you're using, the
Okay.
wording. Direct response, you're still using 99% of the principles. The 1% that you're changing are certain terminology that they don't like on their platform.
Okay.
Or if you're in an industry that they don't like very much, like dating, they don't like alcohol ads, things of that nature, right?
Yeah.
So
Yep.
that's where the change really took place. But if you look at the principles that you learn, the foundation of direct response, it's all there. And that's the other thing. If you're going through ad courses and there's no foundation material that's worked for 10 years, you're looking at a hack or a strategy that has a short lifespan.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff that I've taught now that I've done it for so long is such foundational pillar type content that it's still relevant from when I first created it 7-8 years ago.
Gotcha.
So, if you can use the foundation stuff and just be knowledgeable of what a network is looking for, you can make that work on multiple networks. It's just too many people nowadays are trying to go for that hack or that loophole where it's like, I want the $1 lead. I want the 50-cent lead. I don't care if the lead's $20 as long as they buy something. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think that's where a lot of the networks now have changed, because direct response for many of us has worked so well and we were able to say whatever we want. And then once someone put a little bit of a restriction on us, a lot of people panicked.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so I think those that stuck around saw the panic more than once, because I swear every year I feel there's another set of panic and then it goes away. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm still here. Right. And it keeps happening.
Yeah.
And so if you can get through that, then naturally your business is going to grow. And that's why I keep seeing agencies like mine continue to evolve, but also people don't leave the network as much as you think they are. All the policies are changing. Well, that's why they come to me, because I keep track of all the policies, and you just give me what you need to get done, and it gets done.
Right.
So, yeah, it's just a part of the game.
Yeah, for sure. And for those who don't know, do you have like a definition for direct response ads, like what that kind of means?
I mean, there's a lot of definitions for that, but to me, direct response is more of just, the wording itself sort of gives it away. What you're doing is you are directly influencing people to buy into whatever it is that you're selling. So if you're selling something around coaching, scaling a business, direct response is you saying like, buy this product and you're going to scale your business in X amount of time. That's direct response. It's like It's being very specific, but building curiosity and even scarcity into whatever it is you're selling.
Okay.
Facebook does not like someone being like, hey, if you don't buy this today, your business could possibly fall apart. They don't like that. It's very direct response, right? I'm using scarcity. I'm using fear, right? There's emotion being evoked in what you're selling. They don't like that. They like generalized statements with no proof, basically. It's like just, it can help you scale your business. A lot of people can help me with that, right? So you have to throw in something that can generate that curiosity without triggering Facebook thinking you're trying to elicit fear or doubt or some sort of emotion that could be negative. That's what they don't want, is negativity. And anyone who's run direct response advertising knows negativity and fear sells incredibly well.
Yeah.
So we can't do that anymore.
Right.
And that's why those types of marketers and advertisers have moved to other networks where it's allowed, whereas people like me who don't need fear to sell something, we just stayed. So yeah.
Okay. Awesome. No, that's great. And it's just part of anything, I think, business or whatnot, adaptation.
Yeah.
Like being able to pivot, because there's change is inevitable. And so you can either kind of be scared of it, or you can just kind of go with the flow and learn and adapt and change. So
exactly.
That's awesome. So with that, obviously you've had longevity. I mean, since 2007, you've been kind of figuring this out, building this to, what an amazing business you have now. And so for those who might be starting or might be in the midst of getting started, I'm excited to dig into these 3 Ps of business longevity. So I would love for you to kind of start with that, if you would.
Yeah. So the 3 Ps: practice, patience, persistence. If you think about that for a moment, you'll realize that I just mentioned all 3 indirectly in my story, right? Yep. So let's first start with practice. Practice is essentially you doing repetition of whatever it is that you plan on doing for the long term over and over and over. In my case, it was social advertising. I wanted to run Facebook ads, Instagram ads. Even if Twitter became a huge thing, I was going to run Twitter ads. I was going to run Pinterest. I was going to run social advertising. And I continued to practice my craft in various industries, learning all sorts of different types of copywriting, creative. You could see like the spokes of it all would obviously evolve, right? Ads is one thing, but then there's also these other components that go into it. But it's consistently growing and evolving with those industries or platforms you're on, and continuing to put out what it is you're learning through action, right? That's the practice,
Right. Yep.
right? So imagine, I'm a big basketball fan. So the joke when Allen Iverson was in the NBA was he made a joke about practice. He's like, what's practice? Practice? We were talking about practice. Well, think about this. All the basketball players practice constantly. They take tens of thousands of shots a season, and they've been doing this year over year over year. That's why they're the best in the world. That's why there's only several hundred people in the NBA at any given time, and there's all these thousands of people trying to get into the NBA because they're the elite ones who've done the practice. So you got to think, we talk about the 10,000 hours, right? You talk about 10,000 hours in your industry. Imagine doing not just 10,000 hours of studying, but 10,000 hours of execution. Because I looked at it as I already did my 10,000 hours of research way before the business worked.
Right.
I was in the midst of platforms growing and figuring things out. And I went through hell in the beginning, but I stayed with it. And while I was studying those things, I was running ads simultaneously. Yes, I lost money. Yes, I built my business on college loans. I don't recommend that, but I did. Right? I did all these things because I believed in what I was building. And it just so happened to be that it took 6-7 years before it really popped. Nowadays, if you're putting in that amount of practice, you could build your business to 6-7 figures in a year. I've seen it over and over. I've seen people that I've personally consulted who are 20 years old who've built bigger businesses than me because they figured out one thing that just exploded. All of a sudden, they're doing $1.5 million. I'm like, why are you talking to me? Because you've run ads for so long, you must know something I don't. Because they also understand I've been doing this for so long. I could pinpoint things. Of all the practice that I put in, all the, studying and everything. And it sort of goes into patience, right? Think about this. 14th year in business. 6 of those years, I barely made it work. 7 years it's worked. Okay. How many people do you know would go 6 years making no money?
Right.
Then make money and go, I think I still love this thing. Right?
Right. Yeah.
Not many people go beyond even 6 months and go, I love this. No, you hate the struggle.
Yeah.
You love the result. Make people happy, make them money. I make money when they make money. You love that part. But what about the part where your ads don't work, or someone tells you to record a course and you don't do it, and then they don't want to talk to you anymore, or you're trying to stand out in a Facebook group because everyone else there is experts and they've been doing this forever and no one wants to talk to you. Like, there's all these things that come up along the way. And there's also, let's not forget, the fraud syndrome that kicks in. I don't know if I'm good enough, the imposter, right? I've only done this for a little bit. Who wants to talk to me? Who wants to listen to me? All these things come up over and over and over. And imagine doing that to yourself for 6 years. That's what I was doing. And then finally, when things worked in year 7, I was actually loving everything. But I had to go through 6 years of just back and forth figuring it out. And that's essentially, not just the practice portion, but it's the patience.
Right.
It's not that I'm not doing the work to have a moment of breakout and all of a sudden make millions of dollars. There were plenty of times where I missed out on opportunities, or I did things wrong that I saw someone else do and they made tons of money from it. But I wasn't discouraged. I kept going. And so if you think about it, I'm patient in creating the result, but I'm also patient in understanding that my journey is not the same as everyone else's.
Right.
It's okay that the 21-year-old made more money than me. I don't care. I'm on my own path. I got my own family. I have my own stuff. Because at the end of the day, if I'm happy with what I've created, that's all I care about. I know people who've made tens of millions of dollars who are severely unhappy, right? But they loved the journey, and now their journey's not there anymore because everything's sort of just, they hit the peak and they don't know what's next. Right? So there's all sorts of people who go through these motions. Mine happened to be that I needed to be very patient to finally have my breakthrough But it was actually because the networks themselves haven't even had their own breakthrough moment yet. And once Facebook had their breakthrough where everyone's like, what's Facebook? I started to finally benefit from that. So imagine, let's use TikTok as an example.
There you go.
Boom. How many people are running TikTok ads? I'm pretty sure many people are not.
Right.
But the ones who are, they're seeing the potential. Maybe they're not quite making it work yet, but they see the potential because they've been through the ringer with AdWords and Facebook and Twitter. And they see that when you're in a platform early, there's kinks that you got to work through. So they're practicing the craft, right? They're building things out. They're seeing what happens, and they're being patient with the results. They know it's still buggy, and they got to figure it out. But the ones who figure it out during this current state are only going to benefit more in 2 or 3 years, so long as the network still exists and that it improves.
Right.
Because there's plenty of other networks that have come along in the last couple of years that you still don't hear about. You only hear about the core ones, right? Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, Pinterest, you still hear about. Snapchat, a little bit.
Yeah.
TikTok. And then you got things like search ads and shopping ads, and those have all come along. But those are like the primary networks, right?
Yeah.
For years now. I think it's almost been like a decade. It's like almost all the same networks.
Right.
Then you got new ones. Yeah, and then you got these new ones that come along, Snapchat and TikTok and Parler and whatever.
Clubhouse, it just
Clubhouse
blowing up. Yeah.
Right. But here's the thing. They need money.
Right.
They need to run ads to make money or subscription models. So, there's plenty of other networks around subscriptions have come out as well. Patreon was one of the bigger first ones with the micro model. And then, you can hear about the jokes with OnlyFans and so on and so forth. But the point is they stuck with it and they kept going.
Yep.
So imagine if TikTok stays around and they do this for 3 or 4 more years and you're trying to be the TikTok advertiser of all advertisers, it's going to take a while.
Right.
It's going to suck. You might have to do other things. But then all of a sudden, one day, everyone starts asking about TikTok ads and you're the premier person to talk to. It's exactly what happened with me 7 years later. And all these people start asking about it. Right?
Yeah.
So let's roll into number 3, the third P, persistence. Notice how they all go together. You practice everything. You're patient with the result, though you're working towards that result. And you're also incredibly persistent in getting to the result. Like you're just so focused on that thing. Now, it doesn't mean you become obsessive on that goal. Some people's goals are money. So they're obsessed on making $1 million or 5 million or 10, and it could actually affect everything else going on in their life. What I'm talking about is the persistence in continuing to work towards the goal, whether it's through micro steps. I look at things on a daily, weekly, monthly, and quarterly and yearly result. So what steps am I taking today that could lead to what I want in a week, that will lead to what I want in a month, to a quarter, and to a year? And I actually reverse it. So I start with a year and I work backwards.
I love it. That's what I
So
always
imagine, how do you stay persistent? If you can outline all the stuff you need to do to hit this number, or, you want to buy a house and you need to make 600 grand. What do you have to do to make 600 grand in profit to pay off the house in a year? Exactly. What do you need to do to get this car? What do you have to do to take 3 vacations in a year? Like there's all these things that you can reverse engineer.
Yeah. Breaking it down to the smallest task, smallest goals to build up to that big one. Yep.
Exactly. So imagine that's the persistence side. You've already been doing everything like you're supposed to. You're learning and you're educating not only yourself, but maybe you even have a team and what they need to do. And you're doing those actions to improve upon and evolve the process. You're constantly being patient because you're like, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You have a great month and you don't, but you're still patient. You're going through the rigmarole of like this whole thing, right? Just it's like it sucks and then it doesn't, and then it's awesome and it's a part of the process. But the persistence is you keep going. You just keep going. You believe in yourself. I believe I'm the best. I'm gonna keep going, right? I always told myself I am the best at what I do. Period. I actually believed in that so long ago that I got to a point where someone finally said, I feel like you're the best at what you do. And then it stuck with me. I'm like, oh, okay. Finally.
Yeah.
I don't feel like
it's not being conceited or anything like that. No. It's just believing in yourself. It's not like you're holding it against somebody else or holding it above their head. You're just believing in yourself. And that's what I think a lot of people struggle with. I think having that confidence and belief in themselves.
And the persistence becomes a lot easier when you believe in yourself. You're not saying it out loud. Someone else is saying it for you.
Yep.
So the persistence becomes easy. It's the third P. It's like you're already down the line. You're just doing what you're doing anyway.
Yeah.
But remember, I told myself for years, I'm the best at what I do. At first, I was like, I'm too new for this to be the best. But there wasn't any education out there either. It was all just, you had to figure it out.
Right.
By the time courses came out, I was 5-6 years in. Like, there's nothing you could teach me that I didn't already see. But there were processes that I didn't quite figure out yet that some people were unraveling that I'm like, oh, this is going to help me really take things to the next level. And the more that I created my own process and my own, strategies and how I go about promoting webinars and getting phone calls and all these things, that's when it finally hit me, where I had one day where I said, like, I truly am the best at what I do. And then when someone came to me and said it, validation's gone. I don't need to say it anymore. It's there. Someone else already believes it. I don't have to say it anymore.
And it's because like you're creating your own process, like, and it's yours. And so you are the best at your process and how you do it. Yes, someone might do ads, but they're doing it a little differently. And so they're the best at their process.
No one can replicate the David Schloss way of doing ads.
Exactly.
But I can't replicate someone else's process because it's theirs.
Right.
But that's the whole point, is that I stuck with it. And if you're able to stick with whatever it is that you're doing, if you're a realtor in an area that is heavily populated and you're the newbie and you could be 40 and be a newbie, it doesn't matter the age. I know people who started being a realtor later in life and they're like, who's going to trust me? I'm like, you don't understand. You have experience in so many other things. You may know how to talk better than the guy who's been a realtor since he was 22 and thinks he's the hot shot. And all of a sudden they see you and they go, oh man, this guy looks like he's been a realtor for 30 years. Like you just got to do what you got to do. Right? Be you, be in that present moment. Use your experience from other things towards whatever it is you're doing now, and you can fast track your way to success so long as you believe in yourself. And you have to continually work on your craft so that the results will catch up with you. So persistence, I actually find, is the hardest one. A lot of people can do research. A lot of people can launch ads in this example. A lot of people can continually be patient in achieving a result, but they're only patient so far. They get to 1 year and they go, didn't work. So you were great. You got the practice down perfect. You were persistent a bit because you kept going for a year, but your patience is gone. Like you just the whole thing died after a year and you said, I'm done. So in reality, you messed up on the patience part. Right. And there's a lot of other examples. I know people who went in businesses for 5-6 years. They saw one bad thing happen and they bailed. And I'm like, wow, you were patient. You practiced a ton. But your level of persistence is completely gone. Like you just go. And because of that, you don't know if that next year, if you just gave it one more shot, would have been your breakthrough.
It's like the story in Think and Grow Rich, if you've read that, by Napoleon Hill, the 3 feet from gold. Like digging, and he just gave up. And someone came in 3 feet later, found the gold. And that's kind of like, and I see a lot in podcasting or people who are starting a business, like we've discussed, like they get so far and they're like, well, I'm 6 months in and I don't have 1 million viewers or subscribers and I'm not Joe Rogan level and I'm not making millions a month, thousands a month from a podcast. Well, I guess it's not worth it. And it's like, oh, only 6 months. Like, come on now. I
don't think people realize Joe Rogan's a good example.
Yeah.
The guy had been podcasting. I think he's done it for like 12 or 13 years.
I think it's been a while. Yeah.
A long time. The guy was a comedian for longer.
Yeah.
And comedians, one of the things that he mentioned on one of his podcasts is that if you hadn't been a comedian for at least 10 years, you actually hadn't even been a comedian. It's like 10 years was like their minimum to be considered one. And then obviously now in today's age, it's like you could have been one for 3 years and been popular on Instagram and all of a sudden you're a comedian.
Yeah.
Right? But what he was saying is that with podcasting, it's like he recorded like 200 or 300 before something finally worked out. And then his first sponsor was an adult toy company. Like all these things happen.
Right.
But he goes, the podcast didn't really blow up until he had some of his most like infamous interviews. Alex Jones and his buddy Joey Diaz and like a lot of his comedian friends who like said a lot of things that were, got a lot of attention because they were really, let's just call them, they were on the fence with certain parties or people. But it got attention. So naturally his podcast grew and grew. And the guy's done thousands now because he's done his own podcast. He has the MMA one. He does one with his friends. Like the guy figured it out. Now he's worth, 9 figures.
Yeah.
Why? He was persistent. His practice got better as time went on because not only did he evolve as a person, he became a business person. He had a team. Like then that whole thing evolved, and he was very, very patient because look how much money he's made 12 plus years later. Which you got to remember, that podcast has been making tens of millions of dollars a year for like at least the last 5-6 years. And then Spotify comes around and goes, we'll give you $100 million bucks. Like on top of that.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
So think about that. He went 6 years with maybe okay money from it, because let's not forget he was making money with other stuff in the UFC. But then in the second set of 6 years, that's when the real money came in because he stuck with it and he enjoyed it. He enjoyed it. Right. So if I didn't enjoy ads, I would have quit in year 3.
Right.
And I would have come back 7 years later, and someone that I know would have been like, hey, man, you should have kept running ads because I'm making millions of dollars now. And I would have hated myself. And so I just stuck with it. Now, could Facebook disappear tomorrow? Maybe. Could Instagram disappear? Yeah. But here's the thing. I understand the foundation enough that I can move to another network and within 6 to 12 months rebuild my whole business. Right? I've done the work. I already know how to be patient, and I can be very persistent because I've also built enough of a nest egg to keep my family in a good place, so that if I had to do that and pivot, we're okay. That's what happens when you do the work. So, if you're in a business now and you're like, all right, man, I'm 3 months in, I'm 2 years in, I haven't made $1 million bucks. Okay. I know people who've made 6 figures for 25 years and they're happy. They don't need to make $1 million bucks. There's too much advertising of people making $1 million without understanding the numbers behind it.
How they got there.
How they got there. That now you think everyone just needs to make $1 million bucks. No. So make sure you follow your own path. Stop trying to follow everyone else's journey because yours is unique. And as long as you follow the 3 Ps that I mentioned and you consistently work on yourself, your craft, and you're patient and persistent, you're going to be fine. That's how business is.
No, I love it. Practice, patient, persistent. I mean, it's right on. Like, even being in business myself for such a short time, like I went into it not expecting anything except just to get beat up and beat down constantly, and just being able to have some results has like been phenomenal for me just from that perspective. Cause I've always heard, the first 5 years, you don't make like anything, blah, blah, blah. And so it's basically anything is good for me. And so it's interesting to hear people talking like, well, I've been doing it a year and, it's just probably not worth. I'm like, dude, you like.
Look, I'll be honest with you. The first 6 to 7 years, let's just say the first 6 before that real breakout around year 7 into year 8, I went broke twice in the process. In the years that I made money, in the first 3 years, I was below the poverty line. So that gives you an idea. Year 4, when I graduated, I went broke, of course, and then 2 years, I was around $40,000 profit.
That's awesome.
That's entry-level job.
Right?
So think about that. First 6 years, I'm basically either poor. I am poor in terms of the money. I am poor as well of not having any. And then I make enough to have an entry-level job.
Oh, just people are so close. It's like I just try to just continue to encourage, like keep going one step at a time.
Year 7, I went broke again because I was pushing it. I was hiring people. I thought hire more people, get more clients. The more clients part didn't happen. I just kept hiring more people. So once I figured out the sales part after going broke a second time, then it all worked. Year 8 was when everything went bam, straight up. Like it was hockey stick growth. It was because I finally figured out what people wanted. So 2014 was the first 6-figure year profit. By the way, there was no 6-figure revenue year. It went straight to 6-figure profit.
That's awesome.
And then after that, it was like, what number do you want now? Do you want to go to 200? Do you want to go to 300? Because once you understand how to get to 100 profit, it's like, how do I do this 5x or 10x more?
Exactly.
Is it adding more people? Is it adding more clients? Is it adding more offers? Is
more
it
ads?
More ads? Is it higher pricing? Like you're just doing more of it. And so you got to think, 6 years of like poverty line growth, 7th year broke again, 8th year finally. And then after that, it's been, it's been this, but it's like I'm testing, growth, testing, testing again, but it's incrementally up. Right? So you have to think that in order to get there, you're going to go through all the BS before the breakthrough happens. Because like my breakthrough wasn't like this. It was like this. It went straight up once it all worked.
Once it clicked. And in that time frame, like, people have to understand, starting out, you have this idea what you want to do. And between the time when you start and when that breakthrough happens, you're probably going to have some moments of like, oh, maybe I'm going to veer a little bit because this is where my path is, and I'm more geared here. And then you kind of find your groove, where you're best fit for what you're created to do. And then it's just kind of like, but it takes that time, that patience.
Exactly. So, and everyone has their moment where they finally have a $5,000 day or $10,000 day. It happens. Trust me.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, this is great. And then it doesn't happen again for a long time.
Yeah.
You're like, why does this keep happening?
Yep.
Look, I've never had a 6-figure day. Never. Have I had a 6-figure month? Yes. Have I had a 6-figure week? No. So you can see, I've had a 6-figure month, never had a day or a week where I've made 6 figures. But have I had a lot of $10,000 days? Yeah. But I've not had a $20,000 day and then a $10,000 day and then a $50,000 day the day after, like some of my friends have had.
Yeah.
I haven't had that. But that doesn't mean I haven't built something that I'm proud of.
Right.
It doesn't mean that I can't build 2 other businesses on top of my agency that all do similar numbers to hit $1 million or $2 million or however much I want to make.
Yep.
Right? You can replicate your process into something else, and then that other thing may work better.
Yep.
So you have to think that, remember, the skills you're learning can be applied elsewhere, whether you're a coach, consultant, an advertiser, whatever.
Yep.
What do you know now that can be applied elsewhere? Like, I didn't start my second business until recently, and all I really did was use some of the principles that I've already done in my agency towards that other business. And then it was like, oh, this is easy. This thing only takes me 3-4 hours a week.
Right.
And I'm doing half of what I make in the agency where I'm working on it 40 hours a week.
Right.
Maybe I should put more attention on the other thing, right? But it took years of work to figure that part out. And now it's like, okay, maybe I'm going to take some time away from the agency and work on this other thing because time-wise, it's better.
Mm-hmm.
But that's 13, 14 years of running ads.
Yeah.
So
right.
How do I apply this to other stuff?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and it's like, because I hear a lot of people I look up to, like Brendan Burchard, like Grant Cardone, people like this, like their story, like 20 years ago, 30 years ago, like big picture, like it's a journey, and that's what people want. A sprint. We're in such a I want it now, I can get it now mentality and society that a lot of people just they don't understand it or have the ability to be patient.
Yeah. Well, patience is it's not something that's appreciated in my generation as a millennial.
Yep.
And we all know the next generation doesn't understand what patience is anyway.
Right. No offense to them, but yeah.
They've learned from us.
Yep.
Where it's like, hey, my level of patience is 5 years. And they're like, well, mine is 5 months. Like it doesn't exist. And so, it's something that you either learn and adapt to, or you just simply have to go through the motions of feeling failure at an extreme rate.
Yep.
And, I know a lot of people make fun of millennials, but it's like, I feel like I'm the older millennial. I've been through my crap. I have figured it out.
Right.
And I'm not a young soul. I'm an older soul in a young person's body.
Yep.
Like I've been through enough stuff that I have older individuals coming to me for consulting going, how did you do all this in business? I'm like, I'm 32. Like you've been in business longer than me, but it's how I figured things out faster than that. To them, 14 years of doing this is nothing when they've been trying for 30.
Right.
And they're going, how did you do it? You see what I mean? Everyone has a different journey.
Yep.
So if you're 22, 24, 18, and you're like, I haven't made $1 million yet, dude, relax. You have time.
Yeah.
I'm not repeating anything you haven't heard. Gary Vee tells every young person, calm down.
Yeah.
You can take all your risks now because guess what? If you mess up, you can go live with mom and dad. And that's true. And if you don't have people to live with, you got friends. And if you don't have friends, make some, right? It's like you can take all your risks now. And that's what I did. I took all my risk. And then I got a girlfriend and I'm like, oh, got to be careful with the risk. Right.
Yeah.
And that girlfriend is now my wife. Right.
Yep.
So you could see like things evolve. Your level of understanding evolves. The way that you do things evolve. And the more you become more of an adult, let's be honest, you become more of an adult, a business person, a father, a brother, you name it.
Yeah.
The more you understand that, the easier business becomes because your responsibility level increases. If the
Yes.
only thing you got to worry about is, I got to give my parents some money because I'm paying some rent, and I only have to cover half my phone bill because my parents pay the other half, you don't have responsibilities yet. So to you, business is a game.
Mm.
It's just a game. You're playing Xbox, man. You're just figuring it out. You're clicking some buttons and you made some money. Cool. But what happens when you got to pay for everything on your own, or you
Yep.
got a 1-year-old and you have a wife, or you got some family who need you? Like, the level of motivation to actually achieve something is different than when you're just living by yourself,
Right.
or you just got out of college. It's different.
Yep.
That's why now, good luck trying to strip everything away from me. It's not going to happen. I got a 1-year-old and I got a wife and I got retired parents, and I'm going to make sure everyone's taken care of. Good
Yep.
luck. You could strip away my agency. I'll rebuild it. That's how much I believe in myself, right?
That's awesome.
Nothing will stop me from providing for that. So that does not come from a 24-year-old unless they've been
Right.
through that at a much faster rate.
Yep.
It's the same thing in business. There are people who've been through 20 times more than me at the age of 25, and there's people who haven't even been close to what I've done, and they're 58. You know what I mean? It's going to vary.
Yeah, it's like the comparison to the thief of joy. Like, everyone's story is different. We're at different chapters, so we can't compare ourselves to someone else because you don't know their story.
Exactly.
And so I think that's the kind of a beautiful thing to look at with that. I love it. I think these are just simple fundamentals in a sense that, like, they're that kind of obvious, but people sometimes just don't understand the 3 Ps of longevity in business. So I appreciate you sharing the practice, patience, and persistence. I like asking my guests this question. The 5th trait of pencil leadership is that we are all created uniquely with a purpose to leave a positive mark on the world. And so when everything is said and done for you here on earth, what do you hope your mark is?
That I impacted over 100,000 people to start a business and be financially educated to provide for their family of the future.
Awesome.
That's it.
I love it. But you're on your way. You're doing it. So
it's happening.
Yep.
Nothing's going to stop me from making it happen.
Absolutely.
So,
I love that.
I've already helped a couple hundred people.
There you go.
I got a way to go.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep with it.
Sky's the limit. So, David, well, I appreciate being on. Where can people find you or connect with you to see what you're up to?
Yeah. So if you want to have a consult or have ads done for you, you can reach out to me at david@convertroi.com. That goes straight to me, and I will see if you put in the subject line, ad consulting or ad services. I will be the one to talk to you there. If you want to learn how to run ads yourself, because you're very proactive like me, I actually put together every single thing that I know about advertising from a Facebook and Instagram perspective into a course called Clicks, Conversions, and Clients. The 3 things that everyone wants when they run ads.
Yeah.
And so if you are looking to learn it and be proactive and build your own business or help other people with their businesses through advertising, it's clicksconversionsclients.com. And you'll see there's a nice little button at the top right that says course, and it breaks down everything that's in the course. And trust me, it's everything. It's 100 videos on everything I know. So
Wow.
You can't say I don't understand ads. It's there. It's all there. And so if you're looking for that level of understanding, imagine it as like a certification. You're going to go through content that's going to give you exactly what you need to take action. I have a group, Clicks, Conversions, Clients group, that you can get, feedback from myself and other advertisers in the game, and my good friend Matt, who helped build everything from the copy to webinars to, the entire membership. You can also learn how to build all that stuff that goes along with selling your own content. He's the guy to talk to in there as well. So once again, if you want to learn it, clicksconversionsclients.com. If you want to have things done for you, you can just email me direct, david@convertroi.com.
Awesome. Yeah, guys, get connected with him. Check out what he's doing and start that journey using ads. But again, David, thank you so much for being on Pencil Leadership today.
Absolutely. Not a problem. Thank you.
All right, guys, thanks for tuning in live. Make sure if you're watching this on replay, leave some comments, like it, share it with those who it can help. And if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to Pencil Leadership wherever you listen to podcasts. It helps us get these messages out and leave a bigger mark on the world. But until next time, let's go out and be pencil leaders.